Hi everybody and welcome back to a new video on my channel. My name's Leora and I talk on here about books and writing, reading, all sorts of things. And today I am here with yet another witchy video. There's been lots of witchy content on this channel lately. I've just been reading a lot of witchy reads, almost only witchy reads. So today I am making Leo's guide to witch books, I guess. This is like an extensive guide of all the witch books on my radar right now. It's probably not even all of them because as I was preparing this video, I felt so certain I was forgetting certain reads. So this list will be recommendations of books I've read and really enjoyed, but also books I still want to read. So books that are on my radar, that are on my TBR. I'm really excited to share all of these with you. If you want to watch more witchy reading content from me, I've just uploaded a witchy reading vlog and I will also add that somewhere up here so you can watch it if you haven't checked it out yet. It's one of my favorite videos. And yeah, without any further ado, let's just get straight into the witch reads. First witch book I want to discuss today is one I've also talked about in my recent witchy reading vlog because I was reading this novel in that video. So this is Slewfoot, A Tale of Bewitchery by Brom. And this is one of the coolest books I've read in recent years. It was recommended to me by one of my best friends. She's on BookTok, so if you want any good recommendations, definitely go follow her. I will leave it in my description. So this is a very dark story of a woman who's sort of trapped by her surroundings. She's in a sort of religious cult and men are horribly oppressing and she's been sort of sold out to get married, and then this devil in the woods is trying to contact her. Will she make a pact with this devil and what will happen to the town? It's all very scary and creepy. This is one of those unsettling tales, and what is also very cool about this book is that Brom makes paintings, and there's over 60 paintings, I think, in this novel that he painted himself. And they are all absolutely stunning and very witchy. In the middle, there's some bigger paintings as well. These are so scary and they really remind me of sort of concept art, and that's because Brom used to do concept art for several TV shows and movies. So just a very talented author and a very good book that I really enjoyed. If you want to hear my more in-depth thoughts, you can check out that vlog as well. I do want to warn you that this is really on the creepy, gory side, so if you're not into that, then maybe skip this one. I've also got some more lighthearted ones on this list, so stay tuned. Then the next book on this list is one I haven't gotten to just yet, and that is Witches of Moonshyne Manor by Bianca Marais. I just love this cover. It's very practical magic-esque to me. And it also says on the bottom, this is the new practical magic for a generation of women who value sisterhood, friendship, and fierce, fabulous feminism above everything else. Fierce, fabulous feminism was quite the thing to say. That's a lot of Fs. So the top of this reads, a coven of modern day witches, a magical heist gone wrong, a looming threat. So I know that there's a coven of octogenarian witches and they live together, and then one day the townsfolk get really angry and form a sort of angry mob, you know, like townsfolk do in witch stories. They're behind on like their payments for the mortgage or something like that, and they're waiting for their leader to return, but she hasn't returned in 33 years. She's still missing, and I think some of the witches are going to try to figure out what is going on. I've recently found out that Bianca Marais also has a podcast for starting authors, which is really cool because I'm writing my first novel, in case you were not aware. You can check out my writing vlogs if you want to. So that's very exciting, and it just looks like a really pretty novel, and I'm very excited to dive in and to see whether I like it. The next book I want to recommend is one I don't own the dust jacket of anymore, but this is Witches of Ash and Ruin by E. Latimer. I didn't like the dust jacket because it was very red. I'm one of those stupid girls who just throws them away, which I should not do, but I do that, so I'm sorry. So this is the story of Dana, who lives in a small Irish town. She's coming to terms with her bisexuality. She's struggling with it still. It's not that she doesn't know how she feels, but she's very afraid of what people around her will think. And next to that, she's also dealing with OCD and panic attacks, so definitely a trigger warning. If you're very sensitive to that, then keep it in mind. So we follow Dana and her coven. They're at odds with this other coven that is coming into town. It's enemies to lovers, it's Sephic, there's a serial killer on the loose who's threatening the witches, it's opposing covens coming together to save the whole town. There are also serial killer POV bits in this book, which I thought was really interesting because it really makes you live inside the killer's mind as well, which makes it very suspenseful. I think it's YA, but for a YA novel, it's definitely on the creepy and scary side. This got me freaked out a couple of times. Sometimes it has some more horror vibes, so be aware of that. It's not cozy and cute, but it's very high stakes, super entertaining. It also reminded me of Twilight a bit. I know that's weird, but it has like sort of those gloomy, dark blue vibes. I'm not sure how to describe it. There's something about this novel that's just gloomy and autumnal, so I would definitely recommend it. Then we have another sapphic romance. This is more of a cozy witch read, I'm sure of it. I haven't read it personally, but it is high on my TBR. So this is Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. I've heard lots about this. Lots of you guys also kept recommending it to me in the comments last last year, and finally I've got it and I'm really excited to read it. So the back of this says, 2 witches plot revenge but end up falling in love in this magical romantic comedy. So if you're looking for a witch novel that's a bit more on the cozy, cute, romantic, rom-com side, then I think this will probably be perfect. On her first night home, Emmy runs into Talia Avramov, an all-around badass adept in the darker magical arts who is fresh off a bad breakup. Oh my god. I'm so excited for this book, and I have to say I love the cover design. It's like sort of 70s witch, and I don't know, it's just really cool. Then there is another witch book recommendation that's a bit more on the gloomy dark side. This is The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. I've read this last year when I was in Paris, so I think there's also a vlog of me reading this book in Paris, so if you're interested in that, definitely go check it out. This book made me feel so happy, even though it's dark and gloomy, but it's set in a witch school, and I love a good witch school book. Like, magical boarding schools is just my jam. Haven Academy, rules for young witches. Mind your instructors, no unsupervised spell work, don't leave after dark. But these girls, they definitely leave after dark. This is also historical. It's set in 1911 in New York, and we follow Frances Hallowell, who's a seamstress. One day her boss tries to rape her. It's a horrible scene, so trigger warnings, be aware of this. And she ends up accidentally killing him. Then she gets sent off to the sanatorium because she's deemed insane. But when she gets there, it turns out it's not just any sanatorium, it's actually a school for young witches. Frances arrives and starts to get trained. There's lots of themes of sort of oppression towards women in this book. So also in this school, Frances really notices that she's being oppressed and they're trying to sort of control her. There's lots of trying to control women. She and her friends go outside after dark. She falls in love with this guy who she's not even supposed to know because he belongs to another society. They go out in the forest at night. They drink bottles of wine. They do spell work they're not supposed to do. It's all very enchanting. This book has sort of some gloom, some sadness going, because Frances has lost her brother and she's trying to discover what happened to him, and she's also receiving these mysterious notes. So there's lots of things going on. A book I really enjoyed, but it's on the slow side and a bit on the sad side. It has like this undertone going on. Now it's time to talk about one of my favorite witch book series ever, which is These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. This is the second book in the series. This coven won't break. In these books we follow Hannah, who's an elemental fire witch, and she and her family belong to this coven. Her grandmother is the ruler of the coven. She's in this coven with her ex-girlfriend Veronica, which is very unfortunate because she and Veronica kind of ended on horrible terms, but they still have to spend time together because they're sort of part of a bigger coven. And then there's this little detail: they upset a blood witch on their little trip. This blood witch comes back to the town and wants to seek revenge, or so it seems. That is what Hannah and Veronica think. So Hannah, Veronica, and some of their friends have to try to stop the Blood Witch, and maybe some new love will also blossom within this story. And maybe not. Maybe they will hate each other forever. This was a very fun sapphic witch story as well. A bit more on the light-hearted side, with some action scenes in there as well. So I definitely had a good time. I think I had a bit less of a good time with the second book than I had with the first one, but nonetheless, still a very action-packed, fun witch series. Another cozy witch book series that I've recently started is Small Town Big Magic. In this one, we follow Emerson Wilde. She's quite the leader and organizer in her small town. I would basically say she's like Lorelai Gilmore, and she does what she wants, very strong-minded. She leads the whole town. She's organizing the yearly Redbud Festival as we speak, but then she finds out that her whole friend group is a witch coven, and she's not, and they never told her, and it's so rude. But as she uncovers more and more secrets in her little town, she discovers that maybe there's something bigger looming, and maybe she does have some special powers. A very fun read. I must say the romance in this one, it's a rom-com, didn't dazzle me at all. I felt like they had no chemistry, and that just was not my favorite thing. I also felt like this novel got very repetitive after like the first half, but I would still recommend it if you're looking for sort of a Gilmore Girls-esque small town witchy book, because it was definitely cute and I had a good time reading it. Okay, next book on this list. This is The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman. I think this is the 4th book in the Practical Magic series, so you should not start with this one. I think you can read them in chronological order or in the order that they were published in, which is like slightly different, but I am planning on getting Practical Magic soon, and then I will start with that one. But I think we've all heard of Practical Magic. The movie is very well known. It's about these two sisters. They are witches. They grew up with their aunts who are also witches. They get into some pretty scary and weird shenanigans, like killing a man and then resurrecting a man and killing a man again. And I don't know how that's going to go in the book. I've only seen the movie, but I'm looking forward to reading the books so much. I've heard amazing things about these. There's some people that say that the books are less great than the movie, but there's some people who say the books are better. So we will see on which side of the debate I fall. My leg is sleeping, oh God. The next book I want to discuss is The Hedge Witch by Kerry Thomas. This was so cute. One of my favorite, like, adorable witch reads I've read in recent weeks. The cover is also adorable. Just look at those tiny mushrooms. Isn't that absolutely lovely? So in this book we follow Rowan, who is a young witch. She's sent off to the countryside to go live with her aunt and to sort of develop her witch powers, because her aunt is a hedge witch and Rowan is supposed to go there and spend the summer there in the countryside and learn some things about hedge witchcraft. Rowan is not all too excited about this because she's from London, and what is she supposed to do in the countryside, and how is she supposed to get her first kiss in the countryside? To be honest, this was very teen, so there were a few moments where I was like, oh my god, why is she so concerned with kissing a boy? There's witchcraft. Who cares about the boys? But okay, it's fair. She's like 15 or 16, so whatever. I just really enjoyed Rowan as a narrator. She's so funny and witty, and she has a lot of life within her, which is just so charming to read about. And I also really liked the coming of age aspect of this book, despite it feeling a bit on the younger side. It's really nice to read how Rowan discovers her powers and comes into her own and sort of discovers what her priorities are and where her loyalties lie. I also really enjoyed that her aunt is so eccentric and does like magical shrooms at night, which is just so funny. So yes, another witch read I really enjoyed and I would recommend. So if you thought Slewfoot sounded good, this book has a very similar premise and it's one of my favourite witch reads. This is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson, and this is about a girl who's sort of been cursed at birth. She's also in this very creepy religious cult where they do forehead burnings, and it's all very scary. Like, I would say this cult might even be worse than the cult in Slewfoot. Well, I don't know. They're both really horrible in their own unique ways. Her mother might have been a witch. She wanders into the woods, finds some creepy things there, witchcraft ensues, horrible things ensue. I think some plagues also happen in this book. Like, basically hell is coming down on this town because of her and her witchcraft. On the back it says, thrillingly brisk and bracing, takes the best tropes of horror and witchcraft and gives them a refreshingly feminist twist, a dark dramatic tale of oppression and rebellion, ideology and morality, with a complicated appealing protagonist caught in a Handmaid's Tale nightmare. A great read. I agree with all of these things, so also a book I would highly recommend. There is so many books on this list, I'm like low-key getting overwhelmed. Okay, this is one I found on Scribd and I really still want to listen to this. It's called Improbable Magic for Cynical Witches by Kate Skelser, and it says a witchy atmospheric lesbian contemporary romance set in Salem from the acclaimed author of Fans of the Impossible Life. 17-year-old Eleanor is the last person in Salem to believe in witchcraft, or to think that her life could be transformed by mysterious forces. After losing her best friend and first love, Chloe, Eleanor has spent the past year in a haze, vowing to stay away from anything resembling romance. But when a handwritten guide to tarot arrives in the mail at the witchy souvenir store where Eleanor works, it seems to bring with it the message that magic is about to enter her life. Cynical Eleanor is quick to dismiss this promise until real-life witch Pix shows up with an unusual invitation. Inspired by the magic and mystery of the tarot, Eleanor decides to open herself up to Pix and her coven of witches, and even to the possibility of a new romance. I love tarot. I sometimes do tarot with my friends just for fun. We like that it gives you some unique talking points. Like, usually you talk about some things you would normally maybe never discuss in a conversation with your friends. And I thought it was really nice that this is a sort of witchcraft story that brings that element into it as well. And it's sapphic, set in Salem, and I like the title. I think the title is so cute, and I won't lie, the cute cover definitely also played a part in me wanting to read this book. Another book that is still high up on my TBR is Unnatural Magic by C.M. Wegener. Yes, also a cover by, I mean, look at it, it's absolutely stunning. This is about Honor, who's the best at magic of all of the people in her village school. She's way better than all of the boys, but then she doesn't get accepted into this big arcane academy in the city, and she's very upset. So she decides to go there and make sure that she gets in anyway, but she doesn't get in. But as she goes to the city, she stumbles upon these troll murders, and then she and the daughter of the Troll King combine their powers to figure out what is going on and who is threatening their entire existence. Sounds really good. I've heard that this is cozy, but with a twist of action and mystery, and it just sounds absolutely wonderful. And if the vibes are anything like the cover, then I must love this one. So really excited to dive in and to see where the story goes. The next book that I want to talk about is Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. This one is also a novel I haven't read yet. This one is set at Osthorne Academy for Magic, and it sounds really cool. So I think it's about two sisters, Ivy Gamble and Tabitha Gamble. And Tabitha has magic powers, so she's a professor at the magic school, and Ivy is, I think, a detective or something, and there's some murders, so Even though Ivy and Tabitha are estranged, Ivy has to get back to the magic school despite having no powers of her own, and this having sort of made the relationship between her and her sister even more difficult. They have to work together to solve these murders. I've heard that this book is perfect if you want some cozy magic school vibes, but you also want a compelling mystery. I've heard mixed things about it though, but I hope that when I finally get to it, I will really enjoy it. Then we have Cackle by Rachel Harrison, also very high up the TBR. This one is about Annie, who has been dumped by her boyfriend, and she decides to throw her whole life around because she needs something else. She meets Sophie, who is this larger than life, very enchanting, intriguing person, and they become close friends, but Sophie is a bit strange and there's something going on, but Annie is not sure what it is. It says Annie can't help but gravitate toward the self-possessed Sophie, wanting to spend more and more time with her, despite the fact that the rest of the town seems a little afraid of her. And okay, Sophie's appearance is uncanny and ageless. Her mansion in the middle of the woods feels a little unearthly, and she does seem to wield a certain power. But she couldn't be a witch, could she? So I don't know what is going on in this book, but it's something to do with spiders. I've heard that if you're afraid of spiders, you should not pick this one up. I'm not that scared of spiders, so I think I can still read this novel. Anyhow, the cover looks really cute and I hope I will enjoy this one. Then there is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana, a warm and uplifting novel about an isolated witch whose opportunity to embrace a quirky new family and a new love changes the course of her life. So we follow Mika Moon, who knows that she's not supposed to share her magic and to talk too much about her magic as to not raise suspicion, but then she travels out to this small coven of I think 2 young witches to teach them magic, and when she gets there she sort of meets this new family and all these new people, and also the possibility of a new love, like the cover said. As Mika begins to find her place at Nowhere House, the thought of belonging somewhere feels like a real possibility. But magic isn't the only danger in the world, and when peril comes knocking at their door, Mika will need to decide whether to risk everything to protect a found family she didn't know she was looking for. Sounds adorable, very funny. One of my close friends has read this one and said it made her laugh out loud and it had all the cozy feelings, so can't wait to dive in. There's so many witch books I still need to read. The next witch book I want to talk about is The Witches of New Orleans. It's a very short read. I think you can read it as an ebook, also as an audiobook, and it's basically 5 short stories of elemental witches and their love stories. So one of them is I think Enemies with Benefits. It's really good. I enjoyed it a lot. The steamy times in this one are so good. And then one of them is a sapphic romance set at this sort of evening ball or something like that. I don't know. There was an event of sorts. Not sure. I read this a long time ago, so like my memory is a little foggy on this one. Oh right. From quirky French Quarter hat shops and elegant Garden District masquerade balls to the frock-shrouded end of the world, love comes in the form of best friends, occult enemies, and complete strangers. So if you're looking for some more romance witchy reads, this book is one that comes. Highly recommend it from me. Absolutely adore it. It's not like deep or anything, but it's just very fun. I briefly want to mention The Inheritance of Orquidéa Divina, which I've also discussed in my latest witchy reading vlog. This story is about a dysfunctional magical family, and it's just everything you could wish for in a witch novel. We follow several family members. Raimundo and Marimar are my favorites. They're also like the main characters of the story. It's like he's a tortured artist, she's struggling to figure out what she wants with her life. They're all part of this large, weird, strange, magical family. Their matriarch is dying. She calls everybody home in weird and spellbinding ways. And they all come into their own magical powers and have to figure out what is going on and why all their family members are dying before the clock runs out. Really good. Perfect if you love a story that sort of builds up slowly and then goes very quickly and everything resolves and all the things come together. It's sort of a mix of urban fantasy, magical realism-esque. It's a wonderful story. I think also if you liked Encanto, you will probably love this one. There's lots of culture and family feelings in the story, and it's just one of my favorite witch books ever, and we should all read it right now, right this second. Okay, so those were some of the witch books I wanted to talk about today. I have plenty more. I have too many actually, but I'm just planning on including some of the books in another recent reads video, so I still really have to film a recent reads because it's been so long since I've updated you guys and done a sort of more wrap up video on this channel. Either way, I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some great witch read recommendations out of it, and I want to thank you all so much for watching and being here and supporting my channel, and yeah, I'll see all of you in my next video hopefully. Bye!